Okay, now we're working on Chapter 10b, the multiple choice study guide. Again, only 5 questions, so not a bad deal. All right, find A and D for the function. Okay, it's a sine function. So remember, A is your amplitude. So you take your top value, which is 3, and your bottom value, which is -2. A is half that distance. Okay, so I wrote down -2, it's -1. So this distance is 4. I divide that in 2, A is 2. Now, normally, I would have a sine function heading up. Here it's heading down, which means it's a -2. All right, so if I look at my answers, bada boom. But let's just look at D, okay? My max, if I have a 2 amplitude, my max should have been 2. Notice it's 3. So I've shifted up 1 unit. 2 turns to 3, so it's a +1. All right, so that again reinforces B. Not too bad. Okay, now we're doing inverses. This part you will need your calculator. So you're going to have the cosine of the inverse cosine. Cosine of the second cosine of 0.68 close parenthesis and I get 0.68. Dum-ba-dum-bum. So all I did in my calculator, wow. And then I put cosine inverse, and then I put 0.68. Notice it does cross each other out. The cosine should be 0.68. Now, this is not always true, the cosine of an arc cosine, because it depends on whether the value inside is negative or not. So you do have to understand that. All right, let's look at number 3. All right, the arc cosine of, so that is the angle whose cosine is. Remember, that's what arc cosine or inverse cosine means. So what we do here is we're going to draw a triangle. We want an angle. We're going to call that theta, okay? My right angle is there, whose cosine is 16 minus x squared, square root of 16 minus x squared, over 4. Well, cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse. So my hypotenuse has to be 4. My adjacent has to be the square root of 16 minus x squared. Well, if this is x, right, then if I used the Pythagorean theorem, I would get square root of 16 minus x squared for that opposite, that adjacent side. So this is the triangle that we are looking for. All right, now what they want is the angle whose sine is, okay, so this is the angle. This is theta. So what they're really saying is they want in our triangle, the sine of theta is going to go in that, because the arcsine and the arc cosine has to be giving me the same angle. Okay. Let's see. Hopefully that makes sense. Okay. Arc cosine is saying the angle whose sine is square root of 16 minus x squared over 4. So that's our theta that we chose. Is equal to the angle whose sine is what? Well, we need it to be theta equals theta. So what is the sine of theta? The sine of theta is opposite over hypotenuse. Well, that's what goes inside there, because that is the angle, is theta. if I said, oh, sorry, too writing pi too much. X, all right. If I put x over 4 in here, then my little diagram here, my little triangle, the angle whose sine is x over 4 is theta. So now I have theta equals theta. So my answer is x over 4. Find the exact value of the cosecant of the arctan. So the angle whose tan is 11 over 60. So we draw ourselves a triangle. The tan is 11 over 60. So the cosecant is 1 over the sine of theta. So what's the sine of theta? Well, the sine of theta is going to be 11 over whatever the hypotenuse is, and I'm going to sneeze. Sorry, I tried to get it to mute. Didn't work. Told you I've been working with allergies. Okay, so I end up with the square root of 11 squared plus 60 squared. Using the Pythagorean to find that missing side. So what is that going to be? Let me see if I can simplify it. Second, square root 11 squared plus 60 squared is 61. So sine of theta is 11 over 61, but I'm looking at the reciprocal of that. So my answer is 61 over 11. C. Oh, that's right. I'm looking for the next question. I forgot to change the page. All right, so this isn't too bad. See, I told you, 5 questions. All right, the sine whose arctan is x over 9. Arctan of x over 9. So it's the angle whose tan. So draw ourselves a triangle. We have the angle whose tan is x over 9, opposite over adjacent. So we don't want the sine of this. So it's going to be x over something. Well, it's the only one that's got an x over, but let's double check. So I want the square root of a squared plus b squared, which is x squared plus 81. Sure enough, E is correct. Okay, not too bad, guys. You can handle this. 4 graphs, and then these 5 problems, and you're done. All right, and we're over.